COVID has what I would like to call unleash the consumer. And the consumer is not going to go back into that bottle. Now, consumers are insisting they pick their physicians in the same way they pick a television, for example. They want to know how much it costs, what features there are, what value it can bring. And more consumers are taking control of their health. This is more than ever before.
Welcome to the Life Sciences Leadership Podcast, where we delve deep into the life sciences industry and uncover effective strategies, innovations, and future trends. Your host, Axtria's Jasmeet Sani, engages highly acclaimed leaders in discussions focused on directing commercial success in the life sciences industry. Whether you're transforming your commercial success strategy or just craving dynamic discussion, this is the show for you.
Hello everyone, I'm your host Jasmeet Sani and welcome to the Life Sciences Leadership Podcast, brought to you by Agstria. Our goal with this show is to bring to you effective strategies, innovations, and most importantly, people who are driving improved business and patient outcomes within the life sciences industry. We have another amazing leader as a guest today. I'm excited to introduce Dr. Ravi Kuppuraj. Ravi is the Vice President of Technology at Best Buy. He is responsible for all aspects of technology and strategy to design, develop, and deliver the virtual and remote care offerings for Best Buy's health business. He's a digital health innovator and entrepreneur with over 25 years of healthcare experience and leadership. Ravi was most recently business leader at Connected Sensing, General Care at Philips, where he successfully incubated and integrated new sensing technologies into mainstream monitoring. Ravi's professional career in healthcare has also involved leadership roles in leading global teams at healthcare powerhouses including Space Labs, Draeger, and Philips. As an entrepreneur, he also founded and launched startups in the cloud-based patient monitoring space. These startups have enabled physicians to diagnose and treat patients quickly and accurately. Ravi is passionate about technology and digital health and how its consumerization can enable democratization and equity in healthcare. Ravi has a PhD in biomedical engineering and an MBA. Ravi, thank you so much for joining us today and welcome to the show.
My pleasure, Jasmeet. Always delighted and great to be here and delighted to be talking about digital health.
Absolutely, Ravi. Great to be talking to you. Ravi, I would like to start with the rapidly increasing role of technology and retail companies in the healthcare space. We are seeing a lot more companies getting into healthcare, especially in digital health. Can you provide us an overview of what is happening in the digital health space and what role are retailers playing?
Absolutely. Frankly, I think technology and retailers have arguably always been part of healthcare. For example, a retailer, take Best Buy, we've always sold health products, and that's the same for many of the other retailers as well. Several of our customers, they all want to be healthier, and when they shop at retailers, they're really looking for the latest in health and wellness and technology products, etc. And so they've always been, a part of this whole, what you would call spectrum of health. But what's really happened, and more so in the last couple of years, is that more and more consumers, so there's both a pull from the consumers wanting more of technology to be more readily available to them, just like they would want any other type of technology for their home. For their entertainment and for their wellness. They want that to be available for their health as well. So you kind of see that pull also contributing to it. And that is actually both in some ways really driven the technology vendors, the retail vendors to kind of really get a more deeper understanding of what consumers want. And I believe that journey has been really underway for a little bit.
Thanks for that overview, Ravi. There's a lot of action happening in this space, and you have been personally involved in technology platforms that bring together remote patient monitoring, telehealth, and patient engagement. Do you believe consumer technology is directly connected to the future of healthcare?
Absolutely, Jasmeet. The consumerization of healthcare is well underway. Also, no big secret, COVID has what I would like to call unleashed the consumer. And the consumer is not going to go back into that bottle. Now, consumers are insisting they pick their physicians in the same way they pick a television, for example. They want to know how much it costs, what features there are, what value it can bring, and more consumers are taking control of their health. This is more than ever before. And this trend is not fleeting. This, like I said, consumerization has been well underway, and completely believe that consumer technology to drive better health is a key aspect of the change happening.
It's absolutely fascinating to see how consumerization and consumer tech is changing the healthcare landscape as you are describing it. Now, when we talk about the care being available everywhere or the care everywhere paradigm, it would be great if you could explain to the audience what that truly means and what does it look like for the patient?
Great question. Sometimes when these terms are thrown around, that care being available everywhere and anywhere, it helps to kind of step back and see what that really means to help the consumer. I'm not calling the consumer a patient. I'm calling consumer because we're all consumers. For a very small percent of our lives, we are a patient, for example. It really means a lot of different things. It doesn't necessarily just means 24/7 wherever you are, ambulating in a plane or train. It also means that you find the right type of care that you need at different stages in your life. For example, at Best Buy, we've got a business that is focused on active aging adults. And these are products that help people, have the safety and the connections that they need. These are products like Lively, which is a really small, elegant, easy to use flip phone. But frankly, what it provides is a button to kind of click and get connected to a caring center. And for the actively aging population, this is huge so that they can live very independently in their own homes while being cared for by their loved ones. So that's one aspect of the spectrum of our lives, where it means that care is available everywhere. The other one is virtual care. So this is the whole, I am sick, I don't need to go to a doctor. Can I be connected seamlessly? And this can mean a televisit. This can mean passively being monitored. This can be being monitored when you're just discharged from a hospital after some kind of a procedure. This can mean getting the right type of care while you're dealing with a chronic disease such as diabetes or heart failure or COPD. So it means a lot of different things, and that is where both the opportunity and the challenge is how do you provide this kind of right level of care at the right time that's meaningful and which will actually improve the lives of people.
So clearly, Ravi, the patient experience will be very different in the near future. And as you're describing, it's different for everyone, right? Everyone has different needs. So the experience needs to be catered accordingly. But I'm sure there are quite a few challenges in enabling this kind of healthcare ecosystem. Can you talk about these challenges? Or in other words, in your experience, what are some of the things that are working or not working?
Great question, Jasmeet, again. So clearly, a lot of different things need to come together to have the right experience, kind of soup to nuts, right? And one of the things that we hear over and over again is very frequently the frustration that people who need care, and they don't have to be just older people, but anybody who needs care when they're most vulnerable, are very easily confused and flummoxed by technology that doesn't quite work like the way they expected it to. We've all had this experience in some way, shape, or form. You go to a conference room and you can't get your laptop to connect to the projector. You get into a car, the Bluetooth doesn't work. Now imagine putting yourself in a position where you're sick, you need to monitor a certain parameter, and suddenly you're faced with this device that you've got to connect to Wi-Fi and this and that. So that can be often very challenging. And frankly, that's one of the areas we are looking at, to look at how can we provide, think of it almost like a Geek Squad type of help, where somebody can come and help get set it up just like they would for your home alarm system or your home theater system or hooking up your Wi-Fi router, etc. If you could provide that, what that allows is kind of the patient care to start very smoothly and elegantly and remove that frustration. Because if you cannot get the data from the patient, if the patient refuses or cannot engage with the technology, that's really the first hurdle. So that's one of the things which continues to be a challenge out in the world, but one of the great opportunities that we are actually looking at from Best Buy as well. That human touch and connection when you most need it. And that actually ensures that the loop is completed so you can kind of get the data, and then you can get from there on the right type of monitoring and care and close the loop. So that's one of the areas that we're kind of looking at, which frequently is seen as a problem, and that's the opportunity as well.
And that's a very interesting perspective, Ravi, because not many people have that lens when they're thinking about patient experience, because you're here talking about how people would access care when they are sick, when they are vulnerable. So that's very interesting and makes a lot of sense. And any new area requires significant time and effort. Since we are talking about digital and technology, I guess no conversation is complete without understanding the role of intelligent systems that would play in enabling the care everywhere paradigm. Can you shed some light on the role these new technologies are playing in this ecosystem?
Sure. I think with more and more data, right? So there is more and more opportunity to get better insights. But there is also sometimes almost too much data. So the key is, how do you get the right amount of data, right type of data, the right frequency of the data, the right latency of the data, which can then be properly analyzed, mined, etc., to provide whatever feedback is needed. So it is not just kind of esoteric AI as people would think about, but really kind of more of the smarts, more of the right design of using the right information. So the smarts, the heuristics, things like that enable the right patient experience. So that's one. The other one is kind of the context sensitiveness, right? So you have lots of different types of data, but for example, a person with congestive heart failure, if their behavior changes in terms of how they are moving from a day to day, and how their behavior is changing in context with actual clinical parameters, now you're using context sensitive information. You can call it smarts, you can call it intelligence, you can call it multi-parameter information, but some of these very critical kind of context sensitive information used, parsed, and kind of integrated into the overall care paradigm. I think that's one of the key things that is both seeing more adoption in deployed technologies, but it's also critical that keeps going, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to ensure that this care everywhere concept is meaningful. By that I mean it's effective, it's something that actually provides better care to the patient.
And Ravi, I love your thought process in terms of the role of the data and smart technologies. And what I love is you didn't jump directly to the most common buzzword, AI. And you're talking about how the whole data ecosystem and the smart ecosystem would work. Now, switching gears a little bit, what are some of the key factors that need to be in place for this type of care everywhere solution to succeed? For one, I believe adoption will be critical. Do you think the end consumer is ready for this new care paradigm? And do you see adoption happening at the pace expected?
First of all, I think if you could call something like a very, very small silver lining from COVID, it is the fact that it forced us to be creative, innovative, and adopt technology in a manner that was never thought possible before. And that's true for healthcare as well. So that's really helped, um, you know, uh, for consumers, customers, patients, all of us to really drive towards adopting this kind of technology faster than ever before. Then there are a couple of other things. The reimbursement landscape has moved as well. So that's also helped us a little bit. And what has also helped is companies, healthcare companies, retail companies, technology companies are kind of looking at the complete picture of how such solutions can take effect and get traction in both a fee for service reimbursement world as well as a value based care world. In addition to that, a direct to consumer world where the consumer is ready to both take charge of their own health, but also show a willingness to do things, spend their resources to get the care they need and want and demand. So that definitely has started to take effect. And like a lot of things, it's a bit like a snowball. It starts small and it starts to gather mass as you go. So we clearly are seeing the beginning of that. And I truly believe that adoption in great numbers will come and is here to stay.
Ravi, those are some amazing thoughts on the key factors that need to be in place, especially your views on adoption. In my final question, I would like to understand how this will be rolled out to the consumer. Are there going to be specific platforms that will be used, or will it be platform agnostic?
Absolutely, platform agnostic, device agnostic, and interoperable, multi-channel. By multi-channel, I mean being able to get the care uh, or interaction on a smartphone or a laptop or a tablet, or even via the telephone as and when needed. So the mantra is really going to be open platforms, open standards, device and platform agnostic. Clearly, every company, every entity that is bringing care will have its differentiation as to how this will be implemented. But I think the future is open. The future will be device agnostic. And the future will also be more of a bring your own device, within reason, as to what type of devices will come into play and how they can be properly curated, properly vetted, so that the right provenance of the data, for example, is taken care of. And all of this while kind of maintaining the privacy, HIPAA laws, and cybersecurity, of course. So I think the future will be platform and device agnostic, and that's frankly the direction we are marching towards as well.
Ravi, thanks for all those insights. Before we go, I would like to summarize our discussion so the audience has some key takeaways. So what I understand is, one, home is the center of the care ecosystem. Two, technology innovation, including devices, wearables, connectivity, and other factors, including the pandemic, have clearly accelerated this adoption. And three, the innovations might be in place, but the actual delivery of all this is both a challenge and an opportunity. And this is where retail and tech industry will make a huge impact. Is there anything else you would like to add to this summary?
That's perfectly captured, Jasmeet. That's perfectly captured. It's been a pleasure talking to you. As you can tell, digital health is my passion, and it's great to be part of this journey.
Absolutely, Ravi. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and expertise in this space. It is truly fascinating how technology and retail are becoming key players in the patient care journey. This trend, coupled with consumerization and digital health, is quickly changing the patient experience. And you provided some fresh insights that I'm sure our audience will find valuable. Thank you so much for sharing the insight. It has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you.
To the audience, as I always say, you are the most important part of this show. The tremendous success that we are seeing is because of you. Thank you so much for joining us today, and tune in soon for the next episode.
Thanks for joining us on the Life Sciences Leadership Podcast. If you loved this episode, please share with friends and subscribe on your favorite streaming platform. For more information, visit lifesciencespodcast.com. Until next time.